Morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Mike. Morning, Steve.
Hey, Michael, how are you? Did you go last night to the safety presentation?
Steve, I think you're muted.
All right.
I think Steve is good. Morning, everyone.
Can you hear me, Phil?
Oh, okay.
I
No,
can hear it. Okay.
I hear.
Did you?
Yep.
I was asking if you went last night to the safety presentation.
I did.
How'd it go?
It was good. There were like, 5 or 6 parents that showed up.
Okay.
But the chief, the captain was there. Jim was there. Lisa was there. So it was good.
Okay, great. Well,
Before we go live, Steve, if possible, I would like to make a change to the order of the agenda. I want to push the discussion on the generator up to item 2.
yeah, whatever you like, Phil. It's your meeting. Yours and Mike's meeting.
Okay. So I'm not good. Well, I guess once we go live, we'll make that change.
Okay. Andrew, can we just go live? Because it's 9 o'clock.
Yep, we're all set. Everything's recording.
Terrific. Hi. Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, March 14th, 2025. It's 9:01 in the morning. This is the March meeting of the Facilities, Finance, and Operations meeting. We have a quorum of members, and Phil, take it over to you.
Sure. Just before we actually start the items on the agenda, I just want to make a quick change to the order of the meeting. We're moving item 5 to item number 2, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, terrific. Michael? Master?
Yep. Making the change now to turn it into spring. Grounds crew is busy getting all the spring sports fields and courts ready to go. Reston's in great shape. We added some clay. North House also added some clay to spread it out tomorrow. Going to tamp down the infield, put up our windscreens, so we're ready to go. Baseball pitchers catcher starts tomorrow. The rest of spring sports continue to begin on the 22nd, which is next Saturday. Nice to see the weather changing. So a little bit limited for our utilities. Everything's going really well. It's been quiet, knock on wood. Hopefully it continues and we make the move through spring into summer. Finish out the school year strong. I don't have a whole lot more to update you guys on. So if you have any questions, anything specific, feel free.
I do, but it's not on this. It has to do with, sorry. It has to.
It has to do with something. We just have to wait and see.
That's a cliffhanger. Hey, Mike.
Oh man, I'm biting my nails.
Hey, Mike, just as we're waiting, just a quick question for you. Are you fully staffed now? Is everyone back, or everyone that needed to be back, or filled in? How's the staffing going?
We still have one out, which was since January 6, 2024. Yeah, so we're still down one, but we're doing good. We're okay.
But just as a reminder, we did hire someone in the interim to fill that spot.
So, sorry, I hung up on. I just wanted to, Phil, I talked to you about starting the RFP to find a consultant on the HVAC system. I just want to make sure we're doing that.
We'll talk some more about that once we get into the 26 update.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Any more questions of Mike? Nope. Phil, do you want to take it from here?
Mike will take the lead on number 2.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So we have our information back from the Wish generator RFP. We've discussed it internally here, so it's just up for discussion with you guys. We were down to a couple vendors, but it seems to be that Tower offers an extended warranty program, which I think is beneficial to us for the cost. I'm not gonna say it's minimal cost, but it is a small cost to get us up to the 5-year range as opposed to Cannondale, which only offered the 1 year on parts and labor, it was a little bit limited. So our recommendation to move forward to granting the project over to Tower Generator.
My only, I have two quick questions on this. I think you may have alluded to it, Michael.
Mhm.
With respect to Cannondale, so there was no 5-year option on the warranty that they provided to us. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah, and we had reached out with a number of questions to just explain the RFP a little bit better, and we threw out the line for them to come back with an additional warranty, and it never came back to us. So
Okay, got it. And last, and that sort of answers my second question here, but I'll ask it anyway, which is, just clarifying on the service here. Who services this? Is it Kohler or is it Tower and or let's say Cannondale? And the only reason why I ask is Cannondale's right around the corner. I mean, this is sort of a moot point now because of the warranty, but Cannondale's right around the corner. I think Tower is somewhere else in Connecticut. So who services it? If something were to go wrong or just sort of maintenance, isn't that the Cannondale, the Tower generator vendors? Is that
yeah,
right?
so what it was, we had Northeast for a while, and we felt like our service kind of fell apart. We weren't happy where we were. A lot of questions, so we made the move to Cannondale. So Cannondale is doing a great job with their maintenance. I mean, very thorough. They spend several hours on each piece of machinery. Very happy with Cannondale. And it's unfortunate that we had to go to a different well, that we're thinking about going to a different company for the bid. But just the warranty itself is just, like I said, I think it's an extremely beneficial part of the project for us.
That's actually really disappointing in that we're a customer of Cannondale and they can even quote us back a price for what a 5-year warranty would be. So okay, got it.
I felt the same way.
Yep.
And just to add into that with Tower's base bid included a 2-year warranty, other than the standard 1 year out of the box, and even then they're a little bit lower than a Cannondale.
Well, they're not in Fairfield County, Phil.
Understood.
So
No, listen. So we
landed on Tower, right? That's
I'm
where
sorry.
you-
Go ahead, Peter.
We landed on Tower. I
Yeah,
remember
we did.
had a nice
How-
list.
Yeah. However, if the board feels that we should not make a decision solely on price, and when we wanted to make a decision and go with someone else, we could do that. We always have that option. I mean, we have done that in the past where we do not necessarily offer or award the bid to the lowest response, but someone that we think will be in the best, pretty much serve the district better in the long term.
Phil, what would we do with the existing? I'm assuming we still have an existing contract for maintenance with Cannondale, let's say on at least some of the generators. What would we do there? Would we let that sort of run its course and then renew with Tower? Like, what's the plan for the maintenance of the other units?
The plan is to keep our plan ultimately is to remain with Cannondale for servicing of all other equipment. This equipment is going to be brand new. We have that warranty, but in terms of quick emergency response, that will remain local with Cannondale.
Sorry guys, last question. Does it make sense to go back to Cannondale then and say, hey, look, guys, basically you're servicing X, Y, and Z, where all we're asking for is a quote on the 5-year. Look, again, it's not going to come in lower than Tower. We know that. But, give us your best and final. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did reach out to them, Mike. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did reach out. I mean, we didn't, with confidence to the bidding process, we didn't get specifics with like for like. We just threw out the line there that we're looking for the best warranty that we could get. And there was just no offer there to extend it to a 2, or certainly not the offer there to extend it to a 5, even with additional costs. So I think we did do our due diligence on that part. We could get specific if you request that.
I mean, I'm not saying you haven't. So don't mistake me
Yeah, yeah.
for what I'm saying. And I'm not saying you sort of, go in there and say, hey, look, it is potentially lose the business here all over the place, when the contract's up, because you guys won't even give us quote us the price for a 5-year. But I don't know. I also don't want to necessarily delay it, but it is going to be 3 or so months. So this isn't getting done till the summer anyway.
That's correct. Yeah. So regardless of what we do, this will be probably just a guess, a very late June, early July install. So yeah, it doesn't get us any benefit for this school year.
I'll look, I trust you guys. I'll leave it up to you guys. But yeah, disappointing on the Cannondale stuff though. Yeah.
Agreed.
We've been running into a few situations like that where we thought a vendor would do one thing, but they do something different. So we'll stick with the recommendation. We'll award to Tower, and then we'll maintain Cannondale for ongoing service.
Okay. Any other questions of Mike? Healthy building initiative?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to preempt the line item for the budget update combined. But I guess the 3 open issues for healthy buildings in the short term are the status of the LED lighting, because that can be considered healthy lighting, the status of the Connecticut mandated assessment that Michael and I talked about at the board meeting. And we did get some estimates for the HVAC, so we'll revert to the budget discussion agenda item on that. Maybe all 3 of these fall into that, but if Mike has some immediate answers, that's great. If not, we can proceed.
Yeah, no immediate start date, but we did get the report back. We've been going over. We had another Zoom meeting with the contractor, and we're going to advance to the second piece of this, which is a little bit more of an advanced coming through, look at our specific spots, and see exactly where we're going to start with the LED. So it is in motion. I don't see anything proceeding for April break, but certainly summertime should start the light changeouts. As for the initial indoor air quality, the one that needed to be done, that was complete. The one that we're working on now, that I'm working on with our building management company, is the more advanced one, which is the HVAC equipment and testing, making sure that all the returns are working, supplies are working, fresh air, all the percentage are correct. So that's the more advanced one. That'll be the one that'll be summertime, and we're moving forward with that.
And then you post that, right? That's part of the state law that it gets posted so the public can.
Once it's done and completed and we get the analysis back, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we probably will need to report out back to you guys next month, just kind of give you an overview of that study. That was the Eversource kind of low our initial assessment for energy efficiency improvement. Just the big takeaway from that was that in terms of immediate payback, their focus was really on upgrading of the lights to LED. So that's really the main focus, or the initial focus there. Everything else had a longer payback period. So we'll dig into that a little. That's what Mike was alluding to. We'll dig a little bit further into that, to kind of guide our thinking in terms of what those items that should be focused on, with that longer payback period.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can we just go back to the RFP for the HVAC system? Where are we going? Where are we on that? Because it's important in terms of the Board of Finance discussions.
All right, so we're almost there, Steve. I promise you we're almost there.
Okay, no, I'm just asking because we have the meeting with them next week.
Yes.
And I want to give them, comfort that we're going forward with that. So once we have that, then we can go back and we will have a conversation with them about the most efficient way of financing the whole project, so we don't lose a year in the process. And I think they're amenable to that. They just need more. They just need more information.
We got a memo from Andrew like at 8:59 that I think Phil will walk us through a little bit. Is that
Okay? Great. I'm sorry I didn't see that.
So it has that granularity. It's really a good memo.
Okay. Good.
All right.
Good. Yeah, sorry I didn't see that. Phil, you want to go on to the monthly financial update?
Yeah, we did not make any adjustments to the projection for the end of the year. There's really no significant trend in items. So we're not making any adjustments right now. So we'll make some adjustments in March, report back in April. The only thing that I want to say as it relates to fiscal 25 has to do with excess cost reimbursement. You may have heard of all the hubbub up in Hartford. So a bill was passed. The gist of that bill is that there will be funding for emergency funding for excess costs or for special education if the state continues to maintain a surplus. That decision will be made at the end of April. The initial estimate is that we will pretty much receive somewhere in the tune of $100,000, which would be a significant help.
That's the $40 million, isn't it?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Yep. So $40 million statewide.
Yeah. So it's pretty de minimis.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So jumping into fiscal 26. So we did manage. I also want to thank all the unions, the leadership, and the executive members, thanking them for agreeing to return to the state partnership plan. So we do have signed MOUs from all three boards, from all three unions, sorry. So we have submitted the application. The application has been accepted by the state, and we're in the process of transitioning everyone to the state partnership for a July 1 start date.
And Mike Kimber asked me a question, and does the transition into the state partnership plan, is that what is causing us to go into the OPEB?
That is correct. That is why we're going further, or we're requiring a significant increase in the OPEB contribution.
Okay, and that's the 400. What is it? 400,000.
It is 400,000. We're proposing a slight adjustment to that.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll just jump into that one next. No, before I do, yeah, let's jump into that one next.
Okay.
So in January, the board approved a budget of 3.05% budget. So Mike, your question is, at what point do we go back to the Board of Finance, and when do we true up our request? I typically prefer to wait until this time when we have accumulative adjustments instead of doing piecemeal. So what you have is pretty much the cumulative adjustments since January, or pretty much since the start of February to where we are right now. We'll present these adjustments if we choose to, in terms of an increase to the Board of Finance for their consideration and pretty much for their deliberation. So stepping through the adjustments, we have salary adjustments, both certified and non-certified salaries. These are mid-year adjustments that needed to be made, and some which represents new hires that pretty much came in higher. We also had some lane changes that weren't accounted for previously. So this 146,000 is a cumulative amount for all of these adjustments, including FICA, payroll taxes, included FICA, Social Security, Medicare, and pension. As I mentioned, the final rate for seniors came in just a little bit lower. Based on that adjustment, we're reducing the request for funding to roughly $35,000. There's some adjustment to the net health insurance with the final rates coming in. So the final rates for the state partnership plan came in at 10.97% for active employees and 13.5, I believe, for retirees. So there were some slight adjustments there. We also accounted for a reimbursement that we'll be receiving from Norwalk for services there. So net health and care adjustment is at $48,000. There's a projected greater increase for workers' compensation for the $3,600. There will be an increase for life and disability insurance, $3,000. Other insurance adjustments also increasing by $11,000. We did receive projection from our broker. There is downward adjustment for diesel. And then the significant one here has to do with special education. So last month we reported that we had some students who returned to district, and then we had some shifts between tuition placements and also in settlements. So this net adjustment here, as you will see, there's a significant reduction on the tuition side, $700,000, and then a slight increase on the settlement line of $300,000. That's like $290,000 with adjustments for transportation and also adjustment for excess cost reimbursement. So the net of all that is for SPED is $261,000. Last month, we also discussed trends that we're seeing for electricity on the distribution side. So we're proposing making an adjustment to cover any increases, not even increases for next year, but to just get us to a level point. So we're proposing increase in that line, electricity line, to cover distribution by $248,000, which will, the net of all that is an increase of about $50,000. We can make a decision as to whether or not we want to remain at the 3.05. And if we decide that we want to maintain at the 3.05 increase, I would recommend that we reduce the electricity distribution line by that $50,000. It does offer some exposure, but not significant exposure. And I think we'll do our very best, if that's the case, to mitigate that additional $50,000. So that's the fiscal 26 operating budget update. So I'm not going to if there's a go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was about to ask if we want to increase the budget by $50,000, that's a decision by the board, not by this committee.
Yeah, we can start a discussion here, but definitely this will be discussed at I just wanted to see if how we feel. I mean, I am sort of kind of comfortable with making that adjustment on the electricity line. I know there's some exposure there, but I don't think it's significant exposure. But I think just having that increase in the electricity line really makes up, because the $200,000 would have been would be more significant than the $50,000.
Well, I personally would not. I would rather not change the budget for an amount, for a $50,000 amount.
Agree.
Yeah, it seems, it's just, yeah, I'd rather leave it as it is. Look, we got bigger fish to fry here. We got to get this HVAC system through the process, and and the year hasn't even started. So I'd rather not. I personally would rather not change it. How do you feel, Peter?
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
What's wrong with it? And the good news is that we're vigilant about electricity costs, distribution costs, right? It won't go away. So the quicker we do LED lights, the quicker we figure out ways of less dependence and more resilience, the better, right? But that's sort of like the mini elephant in the room is the cost of energy, right? And Phil's on it, so that's a good news.
Yeah,
that's fine. I do agree with you guys. So I'll make this adjustment, and then for the full board, we'll present all of these adjustments. That's pretty much a level budget. I think it was important that we outline all of these changes.
No, it's fine. I mean, and we should make the board aware. But for $50,000 on a $61 million budget, I think we should just leave it as is.
Perfect. All right, moving on to the topic that's hot in everyone's mind, has to do with HVAC. Hold on one quick second. Let me just get something up on my screen.
Well, it's hot because we can't cool it down. That's just a bad joke.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Um,
Early, I don't
so-
have that coffee.
Yeah. So in terms of the HVAC project and issuing an RFP, our plan is to issue an RFP, if not by today, by mid next week. This RFP is to procure the services of a design firm that will pretty much design the HVAC for the North House. The estimated time for that, we're thinking all in on the design component of it will take about 2.5 to 3 months. So that's on the design side. So we will not, I just want to emphasize that we will not have accurate numbers in terms of what the actual cost will be for the design and also for the construction. What we did, and the email that Andrew sent out earlier this morning, was that late yesterday we reached out to SLAM. SLAM is a company who will be doing that structural engineer or that assessment for the middle school. And we kind of picked their brain to see pretty much what they're seeing in terms of distribution costs. I'm sorry, not distribution costs. I'm sorry. In terms of what they're seeing on the design cost and also what they're seeing for construction costs. So we got two numbers. We got a number that what SLAM uses for their projection. SLAM also has a contractor, a mechanical contractor, and they also gave an estimate in terms of what they're seeing. So based on that, 1 second, let me grab this. So we're looking on the high end of a design cost that could be between $5 to $8 per square foot. And that will be a range of $151,000 to $274,000. On the construction, which is the equipment and the installation, we're looking, one estimate is between $60 to $65 per square feet. Hold on one quick second.
You want to share your screen? Because if we haven't opened our.
Oh,
emails,
got
we
it.
haven't seen
Got it. Hold on.
I happen to have seen it.
Here we go. Screen share. Mr. Galley, if you'll be so kind as to enable screen sharing. I'll give Andrew a second to work on that. And just let me know when that's ready. So I'll continue to step through real quick. And then we have on the lower end, design costing between $3 to $4 a square feet, equipment and installation between $50 and $60 a square feet. Hurlbut, I'm sorry, the North House is about 34,371 square feet in that space. 1 second. All right, still not up. You guys have the email. I probably won't be able to get to that before. So if we take the average of those two, of the higher cost and the lower cost, what we're looking at for design, between the average cost is between $137,000 and $206,000. On the construction or the equipment and installation, we're looking between 1.890 or 1,900,000 to 2,145,000 for an overall construction cost, all-in cost of 2,024,703, or approximately $2.4 million. So even on average, oh, here we go. Thank you, Andrew.
Can I just ask you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the average of the average is up 25% over the
Right.
original estimate.
But just remind me the different,
Hold on one quick. Can you guys see my screen?
no,
I see Zoom.
I see
You see
Zoom.
Zoom. Hold on. Okay. Let's drop that. How about now? What's there?
No,
No.
no.
No. We're looking at Andrew's screen.
Oh, is this Andrew's screen?
That's what it's saying. It's saying you're viewing Andrew Galley's screen.
All right, Andrew, you can stop sharing. And then let me try to. Yes. All right, here we go. Perfect. How about now?
Okay, hold on.
Okay, so just,
Here we go.
I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't paying attention. Who did the estimate 1 versus estimate 2? Is that SLAM?
Estimate 1 is SLAM. That's their sort of kind of their number that they use for their projections or for planning purposes.
Yeah,
And the second estimate 2 came from one of SLAM's sub.
one of SLAM's subs.
Yeah, so he's a mechanical engineer, and he's saying this is pretty much what he sort of kind of uses, and also what he's seen has been the responses to bids in recent months. So the numbers are not that far off. I mean, when you look at it, they're really somewhere in the middle, and that's pretty much why I did the average.
Well, they are far off.
On the design cost, they're far off.
Yeah, no, yeah. But
Right.
they're also off a couple $100,000 high and low versus equipment and installation too. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. So again, we won't know really where we are until we do issue that RFP and come back. But if we're trying to figure out where we are, right? We know if you look on the low end of estimate 2, which is 1.8, we're closer, right? We came in at 1.5. So on estimate 2, we're pretty much right there in terms of what we budgeted for fiscal 26. Right? I mean, the difference here is like 70,000.
All the more reason to get this RFP out.
Which is correct.
Yeah.
But I think the takeaway from this, Steve, is that, or for everyone, is that we're not coming in any lower than the 1.7. Right. So we're not going to have a case where our 1.7 number really is not even valid. Our 1.7, I think, is close if you look at the estimate on estimate 2, which is at 1.8. And that will cover both on the design and also on the installation. I think the question for the Board of Finance and ultimately for the town is how much money do they want to fund in year 1, and how much money do they want to fund in year 2? I know there's a willingness, as you said, Steve, from the part of the Board of Finance. I have small concerns about that 2% cap for special appropriations.
No, I do too, and I think it's important that we share I think it's important that we share this preliminary, non-scientific estimate with them. So, because now we're talking about more than what we originally thought, and conceivably $250,000 or more. So for their planning, since Roan in the meeting suggested they want to bond, they may want to bond this, and this 2% cap on special appropriations. My guess is if I was on the Board of Finance, I'd be thinking about bonding it. But getting back to the capital budget for this year, or for this upcoming fiscal year, right now they were talking about funding $650,000. I think that was the number. Isn't that the number, Phil?
Or yes,
fiscal 26. Should we be asking them for a lower number? Should we be asking them for, I don't know, $300,000 for design? And then the balance in however they choose to fund it?
I think we have the discussion, Steve, not necessarily that we request a lower amount, but if the decision, right, if the Board of Finance decision is to bond it, then if they're going to bond it, then okay, let's get a lower amount. We can go with the $300,000, and the $300,000, will cover us to between design cost on the lower or the high end. Do want to point out for full transparency, I look back on a few years' budgets going back, I think to 21, and we had requested in the past, and I think we did it over 2 years, money to design various projects within the North House, because at that time we were piecemealing projects. So we have money in for the gym upgrade, we have money in for unit ventilators. So we have about give or take $100,000 currently that's been approved. So we can conceivably, if it gets to that, request a lower amount if the decision will ultimately be that it's going to be bonded. So what this will do is that we will ensure that we have funding to do the design, and then come January or so, when we get, not January, when we come back, when we start the school year, we'll have solid numbers, and at that time we'll go back to the Board of Finance with the full specs, and then we'll request the full funding at that time.
So I'm sorry, you're saying we can go back to the Board of Finance? We have a reserve account right now for other projects that we can use for this? Is that what you're suggesting?
Oh, we have about 100,000.
Okay,
Right. So if they're saying that they only want to fund the design costs, we have 100,000 in the bank, so we can reduce our acts based on the conversations, all the cumulative conversations that we've had, to maybe $200,000.
okay, so why would we want more than we really need? I mean, the whole idea is to keep the capital budget to a usable number, what we're actually going to use for the town and for the Board of Education. And so having this preliminary conversation with the Board of Finance, we'll ask them, I'll ask Mike Imber, how he wants to handle it. But whatever the agreement we have to have is whatever number they give us for, the current fiscal year, upcoming fiscal year, let's assume it's $200,000. I mean, it obligates them to do the project. We're not going to spend $200,000 and then knowing it looks like it could cost $2 million, whatever. We're just not going to spend $200,000 and then say, oops, I didn't realize it, unless the ultimate number comes in, substantially greater. That's just me talking. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, and that option, if I understand this correctly, and I haven't been privy to the latest discussions, but in that option, I think that's right, Steve. I guess in the event that they are not going to bond, then what is our next step there in terms of how we're potentially breaking this up? Because I assume then they're not all doing it in 1 year. And so then what would we request?
Well, then we would have to ask, we'd have the study completed after the new fiscal year begins.
Right.
The number comes in, and the only way for the project to be funded in the fiscal year we're about to enter is for them to do a special appropriation.
Okay, so we leave the 6 and change that they have in the capital budget today, and then we would request anything above and beyond that later on.
Well, I'm suggesting if the cost of the design cost is, let's make up a number.
Yeah.
$300,000.
Yeah.
And we have 100. We ask for 2.
Right.
We don't ask for 6, because the difference would just be sitting there for some period of time, unless they want to put a preliminary number unless we want to revert back to the $1,750,000 and they give us that, but that's also going to sit there for the better part of 18 months.
Right. But we're not gonna find out what their decision on this is for a few months, I assume. Is that right, Steve? Or
the Board of Finance?
Yeah.
No, I think we need to tell them now.
Yeah.
And get there. Well, we are going to talk to them on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
And in the interim, I'll speak with Mike Imber and Jeff Farr, and ask them for their direction.
Sure.
Right. So I think the final date when we'll know for certain is going to be when they vote, Steve. I think that's April 10th.
Yeah, and then ultimately the ATVM.
Correct. So I do want to say that coming out of your discussion with the Board of Finance, I have more confidence in our process, right? I think this is the first time in many years that we're even having this kind of discussion.
Mhm.
So the project may be delayed a year, but I have greater confidence, and I see that willingness on both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance to really do something to the North House. So now it's back on us, and we just need to do some more legwork. We came up with the best guesstimate that we could have. So I think this will get us to a good point. What I don't see is a willingness from the Board of Finance really to fund 600,000 or maybe even half the project. So I think this may be a good agreement, so to speak.
Yes.
It's middle ground both for the Board of Education and the
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what will be in the current taxable budget for fiscal 26 is a number of a number that monies will be used during the fiscal year, not monies that will be used in subsequent fiscal years. So we're not pre-taxing the populace.
But that's assuming, right, that's assuming that we're bonding, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
and we have to get that direction.
so they're almost, I mean, at this point, Steve, it sounds like, because they're so, let's say, against like really providing a big chunk, right? Just because of how much it is, let's say, in this year's capital budget, that they're almost, you think there's a high likelihood here that they're going to wind up bonding it, just because the expense is just so high to accept. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Anything else? Phil, anything else to talk about?
Just a few quick items. The other information, are we good with the North House?
Yeah.
Okay. The other information in the packet was just support information. There was question about the calculation for CMERS and for FICA-Med. So the sheet that's there just kind of outlines the calculation for that. There's a few notes in terms of the shifts that were made between Social Security and Medicare year over year. Included in the packet is also the electricity that shows an analysis of the usage and the increases in the distribution costs. And then there's also an analysis there of the OPEB, the anticipated request from the OPEB Trust Fund. Our initial request was for $416,000 in the budget that was approved in January. Based on revised numbers and a slight census change, that request from the trust will be $369,000. And that was included in that adjustments that we discussed earlier.
Okay.
That's all I have for right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think things are moving along great. We're between this, the safety committee having the presentation last night, the next one, so it's a week after next, right, Michael? 26, 27,
Yes.
something.
Yeah, correct. It's piggybacking off of the PTO meeting.
What kind of questions were asked?
I mean, there wasn't a formal presentation. He was just speaking to people. But what's funny, Steve, is that even given all of the presentations and all of the discussions we've had, people still aren't, people who have kids in the schools today, it's not like they're new, still didn't realize we had 2 SROs, right? 2 security officers. We have a mile safety officer. So they're still sort of not really aware of the security stance and everything we've done sort of to improve that over the years. And which is why I think this communication, we just need to be out there more and more, just beating the drum as to what we're doing and sort of the proactive stance that we're taking here. Because eventually, Steve, what's going to happen is there's going to be another incident somewhere, unfortunately. And then people are going to rush to the board to ask us what we're doing. And then we can say, this is what we're doing. This is what we've been doing. And we're not reactive, we're proactive. And these are the measures we've taken. And here's Jim. And Jim is very very willing to engage with people, which is great. So I
Yeah,
think we're in a good
that's good.
position. Yeah,
Yeah, communications is the key to everything.
exactly.
Great. Well, with that,
Minutes.
minutes, kind of approval of the minutes. Any changes? Can I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Any second? Michael?
Second.
All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I move.
Right.
to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye. Thanks. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
Have a good weekend,
Thanks,
everyone.
Mike. Okay.
Presentation.
Thank you, everybody.